Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News, an Indian perspective on Akashvani. This is Ramya bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring to you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi visits Balasore accident site to assess the immediate arrangements. Condolences pour in from around the globe. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh to hold bilateral talks with defence ministers of the US and Germany next week. Sri Lanka celebrates Poson Poya Day today, the second most important festival of the nation. Third G20 Health Working Group meet to begin tomorrow at Hyderabad. A workshop ahead focuses on the need for global collaboration to face health challenges. Integrated Command and Control Centre starts in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir to oversee GIS mapping, digital addresses in the area. Recep Tayyip Erdogan swears in as the President of Turkey, gains a historic second term. The UNSC extends the UNITAMS for 6 months amidst critical ground situations. Ajay Banga replaces David Malpass, becomes the first Indian American to take over as World Bank President. And in sports, India beat Great Britain by 4-2 in the FIH Pro League in London. Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited the train mishap site at Bahanaga in Balasore district of Odisha Saturday afternoon and took stock of the situation. Mr. Modi held a review meeting with senior railway officials. He also visited Fakir Mohan Medical College and Hospital in Balasore and interacted with the injured. He was accompanied by Railways Minister Ashwini Vaishnav and Union Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan. Mr. Modi interacted with Odisha's Revenue and Disaster Management Minister Pramila Malik. Prime Minister Modi expressed anguish over the incident, saying that directions have been given to probe the cause of the accident from every angle. Mr. Modi said those responsible for the mishap will be dealt with stringently. The Prime Minister praised the Odisha government and common people for lending a helping hand, which resulted in speedy rescue operations.
हर प्रकार की जांच के निर्देश दिए गए हैं और जो भी दोषी पाया जाएगा उसको सख्त से सख्त सजा हो, उसे बख्शा नहीं जाएगा। मैं उड़ीसा सरकार का भी, यहाँ के प्रशासन के सभी अधिकारियों का, के नागरिकों का भी हृदय से अभिनंदन करता हूँ, क्योंकि उन्होंने संकट की घड़ी में चाहे ब्लड डोनेशन का काम हो, चाहे रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन में मदद की बात हो, जो भी उनसे बन पड़ता था करने का प्रयास किया है कि उनके सहयोग के कारण ऑपरेशन को तेज गति से आगे बढ़ा पाए।
The Prime Minister said the need of the hour is to restore normal train services on the track.
आगे रिलीफ के लिए और जल्द से जल्द ट्रैक रिस्टोर हो, यातायात का काम तेज गति से फिर से आए, इन तीनों दृष्टि से सुविचारित रूप से प्रयास आगे बढ़ाया है। अस्पताल में भी जो घायल नागरिक थे उनसे मैंने बात की है, लेकिन परमात्मा हम सबको शक्ति दे कि हम जल्द से जल्द इस दुख की घड़ी से निकले। मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि हम इन घटनाओं से भी बहुत कुछ सीखेंगे और अपनी व्यवस्थाओं को भी और जितना नागरिकों की रक्षा को प्राथमिकता देते हुए आगे बढ़ाएंगे। दुख की घड़ी है, हम सब प्रार्थना करें इन परिजनों के लिए।
Mr. Modi also spoke to the Cabinet Secretary and the Health Minister from the mishap site and directed them to provide all help to the injured and their families. Before visiting the accident site, Mr. Modi chaired a high-level meeting in New Delhi to review the situation. The aspects relating to rescue, relief and medical attention to those affected were discussed in the meeting. Home Minister Amit Shah, Cabinet Secretary Rajiv Gauba and NDRF Chief S.N. Pradhan were among those who attended the meeting. Odisha Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik took stock of the situation this morning at the accident site. He visited Balasore District Hospital to supervise the treatment of injured persons. The death toll in the train accident has risen to 288 and around 1,000 are feared critically injured. Meanwhile, several special and express trains are being cancelled following the accident. Odisha and Tamil Nadu governments have announced one-day state mourning on Saturday. Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced an ex gratia of 2 lakh rupees each to the next of kin of each deceased. He said each injured will be given 50,000 rupees. Railways Minister Ashwini Vaishnav also announced an ex gratia for the accident victims. He said 10 lakh rupees will be given to the next of kin of each killed, 2 lakh rupees each to grievously injured, and 50,000 rupees each for minor injuries. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin has announced an ex gratia of 5 lakh rupees each to the families of the deceased and 50,000 rupees each to the injured. Condolences from across the world have been pouring in for the victims of the Odisha train crash. Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, European Council President Charles Michel, Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong and American envoy to India Eric Garcetti sent their condolences to those affected by the train accident. In a tweet, Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen said, "Praying for everyone affected by the train accident in India and hope that rescue operations can save all those in need." European Council President Charles Michel said they wish a speedy recovery to all the victims. European Union said that it stands ready to provide assistance in any way they can. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said, "At this difficult time, Canadians are standing with the people of India." Australian Foreign Ministry also expressed their deepest sympathies for the devastating train crash. Expressing condolences, U.S. envoy Eric Garcetti said, "The U.S. stands with India and the people of Odisha in this time of grief." President of UAE, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, has expressed his condolences after the Balasore train accident. In a tweet, Sheikh Mohammed conveyed his heartfelt sympathies to all those affected by the tragic incident. He also mentioned that the people of the United Arab Emirates stand in solidarity with Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the citizens of India during this difficult time. Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has expressed deep shock and sorrow at the casualties in the train accident that took place in Odisha on Friday, in which at least 288 people died and more than 1,000 were injured. Condition of 2 Bangladeshi nationals reportedly injured in the train crash is not known so far. The official news agency BSS quoted the local journalist from the accident site that 2 Bangladeshi people were rescued from the accident site with multiple injuries and they were sent to the hospital. However, the Deputy High Commission of Bangladesh in Kolkata has not made any official statement on this issue as yet. Earlier, the Deputy High Commission of Bangladesh in Kolkata had confirmed to BSS that 2 Bangladeshi passengers were travelling to Chennai on Coromandel Express to Chennai from Kolkata. Minister of External Affairs Dr. S. Jaishankar met with UAE Minister of Foreign Affairs Sheikh Abdul bin Zayed Al Nahyan on the sidelines of the Friends of BRICS meeting in Cape Town, South Africa. The 2 ministers discussed the strategic relations and cooperation between India and the UAE, including the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, CEPA. The CEPA was launched in 2022 and has already had a significant impact on the trade between the 2 countries. In the first day of the agreement, non-oil trade between India and the UAE rose to about $51.46 billion. The ministers also discussed ways to strengthen cooperation between India and the UAE in areas such as energy, investment and technology. They also exchanged views on regional and international developments, including the situation in Afghanistan and the Ukraine crisis. Dr. Jaishankar said that India and the UAE are natural partners and that the 2 countries have a shared vision for the future. He expressed hope that CEPA will further deepen and strengthen the relationship between India and the UAE. Sheikh Abdullah said that the UAE is committed to working with India to build a better future for both the countries. He said that the CEPA is a major milestone in the relationship between India and the UAE and that it will open up new opportunities for cooperation in a wide range of areas. Sri Lanka celebrates the Poson Poya Day festival this Saturday. The festival marks the arrival of Buddhism in the country over 2,000 years ago and holds immense importance for the Buddhist community. Poson Poya Day stands as the second most significant Buddhist celebration in Sri Lanka following Vesak. Poson Poya Day, celebrated on the full moon day of June, commemorates the pivotal moment when Arahat Mahinda, the son of Emperor Ashok, converted King Devanampiatsa to Buddhism. The main centers of celebration are the ancient monastic complex at Mehintale and Arunadhapura, which attract large crowds of pilgrims. Bathed in white attire, devotees embark on a spiritual journey by climbing the steps to Mehintale Hill. Many pilgrims ascend to the summit of the rock where Arahat Mahinda delivered his profound sermons. During the Poson period, various religious activities are organized across Sri Lanka, including Sil campaigns, Bodhi Pujas and Dansalas, where free food and beverages are distributed to the devotees. In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a commentary on Indian economy on the sunlit upland of sustained recovery.
The Indian economy logged an impressive 6.1% growth in the last quarter, January to March 2023, of the fiscal year 2022-23, belying most expectations of the doom mongers. This growth was up from 4.5% in the third quarter, heralding hope for recovery ahead. Latest estimates of the National Statistical Office NSO buoyed up the milieu for better performance going forward in as much as the GDP for the last fiscal is revised to 7.2%, a shade better than the earlier estimate of 7% in nominal terms. This uptick in growth was in consonance with the optimism exuded by the Reserve Bank of India Governor Shaktikant Das when he recently noted that the economic indicators pointed towards sustained momentum in the fourth quarter and that it would not be a surprise if GDP growth came in higher than 7%. Prime Minister Narendra Modi justifiably felt proud to declare in a tweet that the fiscal 23 figures underscored the resilience of the Indian economy amidst global challenges, as this robust performance along with overall optimism and compelling macroeconomic indicators exemplify the promising trajectory of our economy. Chief Economic Advisor V. Anantha Nageshwaran was optimistic that the country would come up with another solid performance in the current fiscal with risks evenly balanced. The sectoral breakup of data highlights healthy growth traction across most vital sectors. The agricultural sector grew at 5.5% in the final quarter, with growth for the full year estimated at 4%, a feat of considerable consequence to the rural people of the country. In the non-farm sector, the manufacturing segment recorded expansion in the fourth quarter after contracting in both the second and the third quarters. Manufacturing rebounded to year-on-year growth of 4.5% in the last quarter of 2022-23. Overall, the revisions to year-long growth show up manufacturing at 1.3% for the fiscal year 2023 against fiscal year 0.6% in 2021-22. Experts ascribe the visibly modest improvement in manufacturing to spurt in volumes as well as a distinct improvement in margins during the last quarter under review, partly owing to a persistent moderation in input costs. Mr. Nageshwaran said the expansion of public digital platforms and steps such as the production-linked incentive schemes for major industries, PM Gati Shakti and the National Logistics Policy would spur manufacturing. Aside from the positive growth in primary and secondary sectors, the tertiary sector led by the contact-intensive services that account for more than half of the country's GDP posted a growth of 6.9% in the last quarter. This segment, comprising largely of construction, hotels, retail and wholesale trade and transport, along with higher investment, bolstered growth, even as private final consumption expenditure remained subdued, as relatively high inflation and interest rates were eating into the disposable income of the consumers. Gross fixed capital formation saw a robust growth of 8.9% in the fourth quarter, contributing as much as 3.1 percentage points to the GDP growth in that quarter. In yet another positive feature, the government was able to keep the fiscal deficit for fiscal 2023 at 17.3 lakh crore rupees, which is lower than the revised estimate of 17.55 lakh crores, as per data released concurrently by the Controller General of Accounts, reflecting the government's persistent efforts to prune fiscal deficit are paying off. Policy analysts have paid accolades to the authorities for accomplishing fiscal rectitude without compromising on welfare measures for the vulnerable sections hit hard by inflation is no small feat. This fiscal rectitude is achieved at a time when most of the economies across the region are facing economic crises to one extent or another. It is no wonder that global financial services giant Morgan Stanley said India would emerge as a key driver of Asia's growth within the next decade. In a report just released, Morgan Stanley Stanley said India's supply-side reforms would set off a new cycle of manufacturing and capital expenditure to push the share of GDP by 5 percentage points by 2031. India's share in global exports could increase to 4.5% and the share of profits in GDP may double during this period. It also lauded India's ongoing reforms on reducing corporate taxes, infrastructure growth, formalization and social benefits, besides the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, as paving the pathway for progress going forward.
This is Akashvani giving you the world news. U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin and German Federal Minister of Defense Boris Pistorius will visit New Delhi for bilateral talks with Defense Minister Rajnath Singh. Mr. Singh will meet with the U.S. Secretary of Defense on Monday, while talks with the German Federal Minister of Defense will take place on Tuesday. A host of bilateral defense cooperation issues with a focus on industrial cooperation are likely to be discussed during the two meetings. The U.S. Secretary of Defense will arrive on Sunday for a 2-day visit to India. The German Federal Minister of Defense will be on a 4-day visit to India beginning Monday. Apart from his meeting with Raksha Mantri, Mr. Boris Pistorius is likely to meet a few defense startups during an event organized by Innovations for Defense Excellence in New Delhi. Indian-American Ajay Banga took over as the president of the World Bank on Friday, making him the first person of color to head either of the two global financial institutions, the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. On 3rd May, the executive directors of the World Bank selected 63-year-old Banga as the 14th president of the World Bank for a 5-year term. In February, President Joe Biden announced that the U.S. would nominate Banga to lead the World Bank. Banga has become the first ever Indian American to head the World Bank. He replaces David Malpass, who announced his decision to step down in February. On Thursday, a media release mentioned that Ms. Yellen met with Banga at the Treasury Department. During the engagement, Yellen warmly welcomed Banga's upcoming presidency and conveyed her strong desire for the Treasury to continue close collaboration with him in building on the strong progress made so far on evolving multilateral development banks. In Ladakh, World Bicycle Day 2023 was observed at different locations by different organizations in Kargil with the theme Riding Together for a Sustainable Future. Tourism Department Kargil, in collaboration with Downhill Kargil, organized a cycle rally in Kargil on the occasion. The cycle rally started from TFC to the main market Kargil and back. The cycle rally aimed at encouraging a pollution-free environment and promoting sustainable and eco-friendly tourism in Kargil. The NSS unit of Government Degree College Kargil organized a walkathon to observe the day under the celebration of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav and Mission Life campaign from 1st June to 5th June 2023. In Jammu and Kashmir, a state-of-the-art Integrated Command and Control Center, ICCC, has been set up on the outskirts of Srinagar city under the Smart City mission. The center will act as the brain and nerve for all smart city IT-related interventions. It will be responsible for GIS mapping and will have a digital address for all the properties in the city. The center is also tasked to lay a 175-kilometer long fiber net for uninterrupted services to the locals. The ICCC will also have a traffic management system, early warning system, location-based targeted surveillance and messaging service. The system will also provide a monitoring traffic system to keep a check on violations and also provide other traffic-related services. A portal as well as an app have been set up that will serve as a platform for the people to avail of the services provided by the Srinagar Municipal Corporation, said the officials. Additional Director General, PIB, and spokesman of the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, Rajiv Jain, while deliberating the services provided by the ICCC, said that besides providing citizen-centric services, the surveillance mechanism provided by the centre will be helpful in curbing the crimes. He, however, maintained that there will be no privacy breach and law enforcement agencies can use it only under the provision provided by the law. Union Health and Family Welfare Minister Dr. Mansukh L. Mandviya emphasized the need for global collaborations for ensuring access to vaccines to all and the need for building capacities to face challenges in situations like the global pandemic COVID-19. He was addressing G20 representatives at a workshop on Saturday ahead of the G20 Third Health Working Group meeting starting from Sunday in Hyderabad. He mentioned how the government took measures to increase the vaccine production and carried out a massive awareness campaign about the COVID vaccine. Telangana Industries Principal Secretary Jayesh Ranjan informed on the occasion that the malaria vaccine will be produced in Hyderabad very soon and the vaccine has got WHO approval. He also said Hyderabad is producing 1/3 of the global vaccine doses and the production will be increased from the current 9 billion doses to 14 billion doses by next year. The month of May witnessed a host of G20 meetings which brought forth some decisive conclusions for the global community to follow. With the G20 summit about 3.5 months away, India gears up to hosting the final meetings in the series of events as well as ministers' meeting at various locations of cultural importance and heritage. Let us have a look at the events concluded this week and a sneak peek into the upcoming month.
G20 India 2023. One Earth, one family, one future.
Second G20 Anti-Corruption Working Group meeting, May 25 to 27, Rishikesh, Uttarakhand. The second meeting of the G20 Anti-Corruption Working Group concluded on 27th May in Rishikesh. The meeting saw wide participation from 90 delegates of 20 member countries, 10 invitee countries and 9 international organizations including UNODC, OECD, Egmont Group, Interpol and IF. It was chaired by Mr. Rahul Singh, Additional Secretary, DOPT and Chair, G20 ACWG and co-chaired by Mr. Giovanni Tartaglia Polsini, Head of Task Force, Co-Chair G20 ACWG Italy, and Mr. Fabrizio Marcelli, Minister Plenipotentiary, Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Italy. The delegates agreed upon the 3 high-level principles on promoting integrity and effectiveness of public bodies and authorities responsible for preventing and combating corruption, strengthening law enforcement, related international cooperation and information sharing for combating corruption, and strengthening asset recovery mechanisms related to corruption. On the first day, a side event was held on gender and corruption. The next meeting in the series will be held at Kolkata from August 9 to 11. India will also host the first ever in-person anti-corruption ministerial meeting to provide further impetus to the G20 agenda of bolstering the international fight against corruption. Third Employment Working Group at ILO, May 31st to 2nd June 2023. The Indian G20 presidency hosted the Third Employment Working Group EWG meeting at International Labour Organization ILO headquarters in Geneva, Switzerland. It is a G20 tradition since the inception of EWG to organize an employment working group meet at the sidelines of the ILO's annual International Labour Conference at Geneva. 78 delegates from 20 G20 member countries, 9 guest countries and 4 international organizations attended the meeting. The Ministry of Labour and Employment's International Knowledge Partners, ILO, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, International Social Security Association, World Bank, and a domestic knowledge partner, Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, also attended the meeting to provide their technical expertise to the group. The meeting commenced with the opening remarks of Secretary, Labour and Employment and Chair, EWG, Aarti Ahuja, who urged the EWG to be mindful of its responsibilities and come out with concrete outcomes with clear deliverables for the sake of the country's populations and their prosperity. Upcoming G20 events in India for the month of June. Third Health Working Group meeting scheduled from June 4 to 6, 2023 under the Shepa track in Hyderabad. Third International Financial Architecture Working Group meeting to be held from June 5 to 7, 2023 under the Finance track in Goa. Fourth Development Working Group meeting slated from June 6 to 9, 2023 under the Shepa track in New Delhi. Development Ministers meeting scheduled scheduled from June 11 to 13, 2023 in Varanasi. Third Framework Working Group meeting to be held from June 12 to 14, 2023 under the Finance Track in Kochi. Third Digital Economy Working Group meeting slated from June 12 to 14, 2023 under the Sherpa Track in Pune. Third Agriculture Deputies meeting and Agriculture Ministers meeting to be held from June 15 to 17, 2023 in Hyderabad. Third Sustainable Finance Working Group meeting slated from June 19 to 21, 2023 under the Finance Track in Mahabalipuram. Fourth Tourism Working Group meeting scheduled from June 19 to 20, 2023 under the Sherpa Track in Goa. Fourth Education Working Group meeting to be held on June 20 to 21, 2023 under the Sherpa Track in Pune. Tourism Ministers meeting scheduled on June 21 to 22, 2023 in Goa. Third Joint Health Finance Task Force meeting slated on June 22nd, 2023 under the Finance Track in virtual mode. Education Ministers meeting scheduled on June 22nd, 2023 in Pune. Third meeting for the Global Partnership for Financial Inclusion to be held from June 24 to 26, 2023 under the Finance Track in Bali. Third Infrastructure Working Group meeting slated from June 26 to 28, 2023 under the Finance Track in Rishikesh.
G20 India 2023. One Earth, one family, one future.
Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan took the oath of office for a new presidential term on Saturday in a ceremony at the parliament in Ankara, which was broadcast live after winning re-election last weekend, extending his rule into a third decade. Erdogan received his mandate from the interim parliament speaker before taking the oath. Turkey's longest-serving leader, Erdogan, won 52.2% support in a May 28 runoff vote. His election victory defied most opinion polls and came despite a cost of living crisis that was seen to have hurt his prospects. His new 5-year mandate allows Erdogan to pursue the increasingly authoritarian policies that have polarized the country, a NATO member, but strengthened its position as a regional military power. The UN Security Council, in a press statement, expressed its deep concern over the continued clashes, attacks on civilians, and called for rapid, safe, and unhindered humanitarian access throughout Sudan. The statement urged the mission's continued engagement in full accordance with the principles of national ownership. The UNSC, which is a 15-member council, pushed for an immediate ceasefire and reaffirmed its backing for the UN Transition Mission in Sudan, UNITAMS, to continue its work despite the collapse of political momentum towards the civilian rule that could bring in a host of positive changes. On the afternoon of Friday, the Council unanimously adopted a resolution renewing the UN Transition Mission for 6 months. Since the beginning of the conflict, more than 1.2 million people have been displaced within the already impoverished country, and hundreds of thousands have fled across neighboring borders. UN agencies have warned time and again that a rising death toll, rampant looting of humanitarian aid, and rising need for health and other kinds of assistance are growing needs. India beat Great Britain 4-2 after a penalty shootout in the FIH Pro League in London on Saturday. The shootout triumph, courtesy of misses from Britain's Rupert Shipperley and Phil Roper, handed India the bonus point after an exhilarating 4-all draw. The bonus point ensured India cut the gap to Great Britain at the top of the FIH Pro League standings. India sits second with 24 points after 11 games, while Britain has 26 from 10. And now let's take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. The Washington Post reports use of NATO arms for attack in Russia raises doubts about Kyiv's control. And now a quick look at the headlines once again. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi visits Balasa accident site to assess the immediate arrangements. Condolences pour in from around the globe. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh to hold bilateral talks with defence ministers of US and Germany next week. Sri Lanka celebrates Poson-Poya Day today, second most important festival of the nation. Third G20 Health Working Group meet to begin tomorrow at Hyderabad. An integrated command and control center starts in UT of Jammu and Kashmir. Recep Tayyip Erdogan swears in as the president of Turkey. The UNSC extends the unit terms for 6 months. And in sports, India beat Great Britain 4-2 in the FIH Pro League in London. And now, before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan Vaishnav Jan by artists from Italy. And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.